Hello and welcome back, MTG Burgeoning community and YouTube viewing audience. If you are still hanging with the latter and haven't joined the former, you can do so now by clicking that subscribe button. When you do, you open yourself up to becoming a participant in so many of the MTG Burgeoning Rewards series. It's Tuesday, so we are back to our Build a Deck series, and we continue building around Lord Windgrace in a Lands Matters deck. Burgeonites, hello, welcome back. MTG Burgeoning here. It's Tuesday. We are continuing to build around our favorite Juned Planeswalker, Lord Windgrace. If you missed any of the previous installments of this Build a Deck series, you can click any of the links below to take you right to the videos where we go more in depth about the cards that we've already included in this deck. You can also click on the tappedout.net link below in the description to take you right to a current deck list of what we have in this deck so far. So Lord Windgrace is our commander. We are building a Lands Matter deck with Lord Windgrace piloting it. And so far, these are the cards that we've included in this deck. Lotus Cobra, Skewt Swarm, Morag, Fury of Akum, Valakut Exploration, Omnath, Locus of Rage, Rampaging Baloths, Tireless Tracker, Avenger of Zendikar, Scapeshift, Crucible of Worlds, Life from the Loam, Ancient Green Warden, Reshape the Earth, Nahiri's Lithoforming, Splendid Reclamation, Realms Uncharted, Azusa Lost But Seeking, Vigitrog Monster, Exploration, Wayward Swordtooth, Mina and Den Wildborn, Ramunap Excavator, Burgeoning, Sword of the Animist, Roiling Regrowth, Harrow, Spring Bloom Druid, Crop Rotation, Sky Shroud Claim, Kodama's Reach, Cultivate, Creeping Renaissance, Living Twister, Oracle of Muldaya, Nylea's Intervention, and Borborygmos Enraged. So over the course of the last two videos, we pretty much included a bunch of spells, around 24, I think it was exactly 24 spells that got lands into play from everywhere, from our library, from our hand, from the graveyard, from the battlefield. That's what we spent the last couple videos doing in order to take advantage of so many of the abilities of the first 12 cards we added to this deck, all of which are focused on landfall. So the MTG Burgeoning was tasked with the they were tasked with the chore, let's put it that way, of creating a list of some removal spells that we can add as a way in which to, of course, slow down and act as obstacles to our opponents. Well, the following 10 cards are being added as removal spells that are going to do exactly that. They are going to shut down and slow down our opponents so that we can enjoy all of our tricky landfall abilities. So let's begin with one copy of Assassin's Trophy. Destroy target permanent an opponent controls for black and a green. Yeah, they get to search their library for a basic land card and put it into play, but honestly, in a lot of ways, trading in one troublesome or problematic permanent for a basic land, if they even have any basic lands, I've seen that happen before, baby. Trust me, it's definitely worth it to get rid of something that is replaced by a basic land. So one copy of Assassin's Trophy, very versatile. It's any permanent we want, and we can destroy it. Speaking of destroying a target permanent and leaving something behind, one copy of Beast Within. 2 and a green, destroy target permanent, and its controller creates a 3/3 green beast creature token. Not a 3/3 greased, whatever the heck that is. And yeah, again, similar to Assassin's Trophy, we're not going to worry too much about a 3/3 green beast token when we're able to eliminate a very troublesome or problematic permanent. Next up, we have an uncommon instant from War of the Spark that fits the theme of this deck wonderfully, and that's Death Sprout. Now, it's a little pricier than our two previous spot removal spells, but the extra price is definitely worth it. 1 double black and a green, this instant simply says destroy target creature. Then we search our library for a basic land and put it onto the battlefield tapped. So we can destroy a target creature, and we get to fetch out a wonderful basic land and trigger all of our landfall abilities. Death Sprout was perfectly made for this type of deck. Staying with the theme of instant speed removal, of course, because let's be honest, that is the best. We have 1 copy of Putrefy, 1 black and a green, destroy target artifact or creature, it can't be regenerated. Very simple, we get to pick, we got a couple of modes, it's either destroy artifact or destroy creature. Next up, for all of those combo players out there that are relying on a particular artifact or enchantment to combo off and win the game, Time Spiral will say, welcome to Krosan Grip. It has the split second mechanic, which means that as long as this spell is on the stack, players can't play spells or activated abilities that aren't mana abilities. For all intents and purposes of this card, Krosan Grip reads, this spell cannot be countered, which is fantastic because destroy target artifact or enchantment, you can't do anything to stop that from happening. Krosan Grip is the bane of the combo player, particularly if they're trying to combo off with an artifact or enchantment. That is removal spell number 5 for this deck. We're moving on to our bottom 5. We have 1 more spot removal spell. Again, it's a little pricier than most of the other removal spells, but similar to Death Sprout, it definitely has an added bonus that's going to be considered a great feature for the theme and focus of this deck. And that's going to be 1 copy of Hagra Mauling, 2 in double black. This instant reads, this spell costs 1 less to cast if an opponent controls no basic lands. Unlikely, but possible. I can definitely attest to that. And it simply says, similar to Death Sprout, it says destroy target creature. Now, casting this spell does not allow us to search our library and put a basic land into play. However, if we have the need to do so, we can elect to put Hagra Mauling into play flipped, which would be Hagra Brood Pit. It enters the battlefield tapped as a land, but it is a land and it will trigger our landfall abilities. This is a fantastic card to add to this deck because if we draw it late and we need a removal spell, bam. If we draw it early and we don't, bam. Or if we need the land late for a landfall trigger, we have that option available to us too. Hagra Mauling / Hagra Brood Pit, a fantastic double face card for us to include in this Land Matters Lord Windgrace deck. All right, now all that remains are our global removal spells, and we're going to start with a beauty, a Golgari Dream, the Pernicious Deed. 1 black and a green as an enchantment. We can tap X and sacrifice Pernicious Deed to destroy each artifact, creature, and enchantment with converted mana cost X or less. Yes, this is going to reach our board, but for the mana investment of just 1 black and a green to get this into play, and maybe we need to just get rid of a token army, or maybe we're just trying to get rid of a bunch of goblins that may leave most of our board intact. Sometimes having a Pernicious Deed in play just with some open mana acts as enough of a deterrent for our opponents for a turn or two that allows us to get a little further ahead. So adding Pernicious Deed is a great spell for this deck. All right, next up we have 1 copy of Necromantic Selection, 4 in triple black. It's a sorcery. It says destroy all creatures, then return a creature card put into a graveyard this way to the battlefield under our control. It becomes a black zombie in addition to its other colors and types, and then we exile Necromantic Selection. This is perfect for us if we have a creature on our battlefield that we don't really want to lose but want to get rid of all of our opponent's creatures, or maybe one of our opponents has a creature that's much more valuable than any of the creatures we currently have. Well, we jam in 4 in triple black, destroy all creatures, and then we get to pick any one of them that went to the graveyard, put it right into play under our control. Necromantic Selection, its inclusion in this deck is warranted based on the versatility of bringing a creature back from the dead. Speaking of creatures that are going to die, with this next removal spell, let's make sure it's strictly for our opponents, and let's throw planeswalkers into that as well. And we're going to do so by including a copy of In Garruk's Wake. 7 and double black, we destroy all creatures we don't control and all planeswalkers we don't control. I love the fact that it's not anything that we control. For just 2 more mana, for what Necromantic Selection costs for the overall CMC from 7 to 9, we target this removal to just our opponents. Great card to include. A 9 CMC removal spell should not be a burden in this deck because we are going to have mana for days and weeks and sometimes for months. All right, so here we are, removal spell number 10 and the last of this subset of cards. And this is a spell, again, that we are never even going to come close to paying its full CMC. And that's going to be 1 copy of Blasphemous Act. For 8 and a red, again, we're never casting that because this spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature on the battlefield. Blasphemous Act deals 13 damage to each creature. This spell is routinely cast for 1 red, or maybe a generic colorless mana and a red. This is just an ultimate board wipe, and hopefully our opponents do not have creatures that have indestructible or protection, because the 13 damage should be able to wipe out most every creature that's on the battlefield. And that is it, folks. Those are the 10 removal spells that are being added to this Jund Land Matters Lord Windgrace EDH Commander deck. And we are just about done with the cards we're adding to this deck, folks. So we return our focus to, you know what? Let's round out the deck. Let's maybe put in a little tiny bit more ramp, maybe a couple Lands Matter cards, maybe something having to do with some graveyard recursion, anything that any of the Burgeonites out there could use as a suggestion in the comment section below, or over on the MTG Burgeoning tappedout.net page for Lord Windgrace. We're looking for probably, I'd say maybe up to, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 more selections that we can add before we move to the most important feature of this deck, our mana base, our lands, the installation of our land base. So give me the best suggestions you can make. What do you think, folks? 8, 9, maybe 10 more spells? Let me know in the comment section below. This is MTG Burgeoning, and we are building Jund Land Matters with our General Commander, Lord Windgrace.